It doesn't matter if you're heading out on a weekend off-road trip with your friends or setting off on a multi-year overland journey. Whether you know it or not, I can guarantee you're carrying along an extra passenger, and his name is Murphy. Now, having Murphy along for the ride doesn't mean that bad things are going to happen, simply that there's a possibility that they could. But one thing I've learned in life is that once Murphy has you in his sights, you can't count on being able to outdrive, outmaneuver, or outgun him. Luckily for us, though, there's two key things we can do to make sure that when it comes time to go toe-to-toe with Murphy, we come out on top. Now, if your only planning consists of making sure you've got the ribeyes for dinner at camp and ensuring the cooler has enough beer in it, well, kudos to you because you're doing important work. But in my opinion, proper planning is going to require a bit more effort. Taking the time to go beyond the simple packing checklists and beginning to think about things from what ifs all the way through to full-blown worst-case scenarios will significantly improve your situation when Murphy strikes. What if I get to camp and the propane for my cook stove is empty? Well, I've got fire starters, and sometimes a ribeye right on the fire is exactly what you need. What if I get a flat tire while I'm on the trail? Well, I've got my tire repair kit, my air compressor, I've got a full-size spare that I know is in good condition, and I know that I've got my bottle jack and my lug nut socket to be able to change a tire. What if I get stuck on the trail? Do I have recovery gear? Do I know how to use the recovery gear? Now, I've got a number of stories that could illustrate this point. Maybe the time I showed up to camp only to realize that I left the keys to unlock the iCamper back at home on the counter. No big deal though, I was able to sleep comfortably enough inside the 4Runner. Maybe it's the time me and my buddies loaded up into the 4Runner for a long weekend of camping down in Mammoth, Inyo National Forest. After a great night of camping, we woke up on our final morning and decided to hit one more trail to scout potential campsites for our next time there. And this trail was pretty moderate for the most part, until we came up to a little staircase obstacle. And the stairs were built out of fallen logs. The first couple were no problem, but I misjudged the height of the final step. Ended up high-centered right on top of this log. We tried everything we could think to get unstuck. We were digging, we were stacking rocks, but to no avail. After about 3 hours of trying absolutely everything we could think of, we made the call to try hiking out to the road. It was a 4-mile hike out to the main road where we were able to flag someone down who was willing to drive us back and give us a tug and get us off this log we were stuck on. Now, did I see that coming? Absolutely not. But the situation would have been so much more daunting without a shovel, basic recovery gear, plenty of water, good hiking shoes, things that can be easily overlooked if your expectation is that you're going out on an easy overnight camping trip. Now, if you've had Murphy show up on one of your trips, I would love to hear your story. Let me know what happened down in the comments below, because I know I'm not the only one. Now, alongside planning, the next most important way to prepare for the inevitable is your mindset. By knowing and accepting that Murphy's along for the ride, you're already off to a great start. And I'm not saying to be pessimistic and assume that everything is going to go wrong all the time. In fact, you guys know me. I prefer optimism with a healthy dose of reality. There's going to be times where the challenges are small, hardly noticeable, and don't even make an impact into your overall plan. And then there's going to be times where the challenges are huge and gnarly and make you question everything. An engine swap in Alaska as winter rolls in comes to mind there. Now for me, the first part of building a proper mindset to get through these challenges is mental toughness. Grit exists at the intersection of your passion and your perseverance. Because we're doing something that we're passionate about, off-roading, getting out into the wild, we're already halfway there. So it's about building your perseverance. Can you embrace the suffering that comes with hours of digging to attempt a self-recovery? Can you accept that suffering as an opportunity for growth instead of letting anger and frustration take over? Grit can be learned. It can be practiced. And you might find out you've got it right when you need it most. The second part of a good mindset is mental flexibility. Having the ability and the willingness to adapt, improvise, and overcome when challenges arise will certainly yield better outcomes. If your plans are so rigid and inflexible that you're ready to light them all on fire at the first sign of a problem, well, you might have picked the wrong hobby, and you're probably going down a path that ends in unnecessary frustration and anger. We've all been there though. Whether your plan is to make it to camp an hour before sunset and you don't end up rolling in until well after 10 p.m., or your plan is to make it to Baja by the first of the year and you're at the end of February and your truck is still up in the Yukon, it can be incredibly frustrating. You've got to find ways to roll with the punches though. And just like perseverance, improvisation is a skill that can be learned and practiced and gets easier and easier the more you do it and the more you learn to trust yourself. And a big part of trusting yourself is being prepared, doing that planning and thinking about the what ifs, the alternate scenarios, and those worst case scenarios can build that confidence that regardless what happens, you're going to be capable of handling it. Now, if you made it this far, I hope you'll consider subscribing and sticking around for a while. Maybe we'll cross paths out on the trail someday. As always, thanks so much for being here. Until next time.